Have you heard about any of this drop shipping that everybody's always talking about? About how it's going to be super easy. You basically sell something that somebody else creates and you just collect profit. Maybe you do want to actually invest in it and you might have the time to devote to it, maybe even a little bit of money as well, but you don't necessarily want to waste your time and money trying to figure out if this is the thing for you. Well, I decided to try my hand at a little bit of drop shipping, and I want to talk about how it went. Let's discuss. Hey, what's going on? Jordan Taylor here from STARTA.ca. Welcome to another episode of STARTA, where we focus on helping young business-minded entrepreneurs build and grow their brand or business using mostly online tools. And today what I want to talk about is my experience with dropshipping. So, full transparency, I made a very small, very simple store. I'll get into the whole explanation of it. But I've been passively interested in the whole drop shipping idea for quite a while, and I wish I had done a little bit more research into it when I did it, not because it turned out horribly, but just so that way I could learn through somebody else's experience rather than my own. But if you are watching this video, then that is what this video is going to serve for you, as a bit of a learning platform or learning tool for you to be able to decide if you want to get into this yourself or not. So in theory, drop shipping should be very simple in that, for those of you who may or may not know how drop shipping works, is you set up a store with a product and you are not responsible for having that product physically in your possession or on inventory, but basically how it is, so you have product A and you want to sell product A on your website. Your customer goes and makes an order, you get that order, and somebody else fulfills it and also ships that product to your customer. And you pay the wholesale price on the product, the customer pays the full price of the product or the retail price of the product, and then you collect the profits. And you take that profit and you either do whatever you would normally do with your profits, or you reinvest it back into the business, into better products, more marketing, Facebook ads, whatever the case is. So that's a little bit of background on what dropshipping is, but you probably already know what that is if you're watching this video. So, my experience with it, this is kind of how things went for me. So, a little bit of context here. So, outside of STARTA, what you're watching or listening to right now, I also do music as well, and for my upcoming album release, if you are interested, let me know, I will leave it down below. But for my upcoming album release, I wanted to create some merch around the album. So I thought, okay, well maybe I could do some t-shirts, or maybe I could do like a hoodie, or what I really wanted to do was create a journal. And I was trying to find a company that was going to offer a journal or a notebook that I could then sell to customers. The reason why I wanted to go with a journal specifically, and I found that to be a little bit harder to find than say like just like a t-shirt, is because for those of you who follow me on my personal Instagram, I also talk about a lot of gratitude journaling, and that's something that I like to do. So I thought it'd be cool if I could sell a journal for others to be able to do gratitude journaling, or any kind of journaling really, to be able to do that, and also, you know, self-promote my album a little bit. So that was the idea. So I was trying to find what is called a print-on-demand service to be able to fulfill and ship the product that I wanted, either A, with its own online storefront, or using one that I already had access to. So a little bit of context for if you have ever been to STARTA.ca, that website runs on the Squarespace platform. So Squarespace is an online website creator / hosting platform, and I already use Squarespace. I already have a business plan with them, so I thought I could make a one page that is devoted right to that. And a lot of these print-on-demand websites, you can actually integrate directly with whoever your store is hosted with. So I did a lot of looking into different platforms. The first one I looked into was Printful, because that is the one that most easily integrates with Squarespace, which I was already using for the website STARTA.ca. And so I was looking at Printful, and it seemed relatively easy that you don't pay anything unless you make an order. So that's the only time you pay. There's no monthly cost with it. So I was open to doing that. Problem is they didn't have the product that I was looking for, specifically this notebook. They did have a lot of t-shirts and a lot of apparel, which wasn't my main focus, although I did end up actually doing some apparel, but the main thing that I wanted was the notebook. And Printful did not have a notebook available. So again, I spent looking at a couple other sites. Printful was one. I can't remember the other ones I was looking at, but I looked at a few different ones. There was some big cartel stuff, although I think that was more on the hosting side. But I did spend a little bit of time looking at a few different ones before finally landing on the print-on-demand service called Printify. Now, Printify most quickly integrates with Shopify. Now, Shopify also integrates with Printful and a lot of the other ones very well, but Printify seemed to only integrate with Shopify, Wix, PrestaShop, Etsy. There might have been a couple other ones in there, but those were the main ones. And it also had the option to get what is called an API. Basically, it's a manual way to connect the one tool to another. I ended up going with Printify because it had the product that I wanted, and you don't pay anything until you make your order, same as Printful. And it was pretty good for the most part, and the way to design the product, so I was able to put my own designs onto the product, and then they will get printed and then shipped directly to the customer. The problem was getting things integrated all together. So there was no way for me to easily integrate Printify with Squarespace. They had Wix available, and I went and checked out Wix, and I was like, well, I don't want to have to use a second platform if I don't have to, but it seems that that's the only way I could do it. So I went and created a Wix store, spent a bunch of time creating my Wix storefront. Wix is like another Squarespace. So I spent a bunch of time creating my Wix store because Wix did have an opportunity to create a website for free. It's just that it would be your domain. I think it's .wixsite.com or something like that, which I was totally fine with because I was just doing this to coincide with the release of my album. I wasn't necessarily looking for it to be a super long-term thing. It was supposed to be just merch going with the release of the album. It was, so maybe it'd be up for like kind of 6 months to a year, and then I would move on to something else. And I wasn't looking to make a lot of revenue for it. I just wanted to have something. So I create my Wix store for free. Everything's all good. I got the design going. I integrate my Instagram in there. I was able to integrate all my products that I had made over on Printify and import them into the Wix store. Very easy. One-click button, like publish to Wix on the Printify side. So you're just going back and forth between Wix and Printify. Very, very easy. And I had a buddy of mine try to go and put through a test order for me, and I couldn't accept payments. I had to actually pay towards Wix. Like I had to pay for a Wix plan in order to be able to accept payments. I also had to go through the step of making sure my PayPal was updated to a business account. I had a PayPal account, but it was set up as a personal account, so I had to upgrade that to a business account, which means I pay more per transaction, which I wasn't crazy about, but it's small amount. I think it's about 2.9% plus 30 cents. Not that bad. Cool. Get that set up, get my Stripe set up, get my Square set up. So these are all payment processors. So PayPal, Stripe, Square, get all those set up, all at no cost. And then, again, looking back at Wix, that the only way for me to accept online payments, even though I had them set up, was if I paid for a site. And I'm not opposed to paying for a tool because I am making money through my business on the freelancing side of things. I have a few different streams of revenue, but because my freelancing side of my business is doing quite well, or doing well enough that I can afford to invest back into other areas of my business, which is why I was investing in making some merch for my music, and why I'm outsourcing certain tasks, which we spoke about in the last video about DIY versus outsourcing. So I had a little bit of resources that I could put into my whole operation here. So I'm not opposed to paying for something, but the thing is that I already am paying for a website hosting platform, which was Squarespace, and I didn't want to have to now be paying for Squarespace and Wix, just because I didn't want to have to be paying for two different platforms, considering the Wix platform, again, it was kind of more of an experiment to see, okay, could I sell some merch if I had it available. Obviously, I would hope to make a return on setting it up, but I just needed a microsite. I didn't care if it had the Wix branding on there. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted something that I could do quick, easy, and get it set up. I could publish my Wix site, but I couldn't accept payments, so that wasn't going to work. So, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can use the custom Printify API to connect it to my Squarespace. I'll make a page on my Squarespace. So in order to do that, I can't just generate an API, what's called a token. I couldn't just generate the token. I actually had to reach out to Printify. I had to send them basically an email or fill out their contact form to be able to be approved for API access. So that took a couple days. So I did that and I'm waiting. And I finally get back and they're like, yeah, you're approved. Okay, you should be able to access the generate token. So I do that, I generate the token, and it spits out this number, or this long, giant group of characters, which just looks like random code. And I can't quite figure out where I'm supposed to put this API. If you know, by all means, leave a comment or send me a DM on Instagram at STARTA Canada, or leave a comment down below. I could not for the life of me figure out where to put this API token code. So, and then I was looking on the Squarespace side. I can't quite figure out where to put it on Squarespace. Then I see I have the option to generate an API on Squarespace. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll generate my API token on Squarespace and plug it into Printify. I try to generate an API on Squarespace, but I have to enter into a whole nother mode to do that, which would have compromised how the rest of my website looked. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. So I was kind of stuck. So then what I ended up actually doing, what this all kind of comes to a halt to, is I ended up putting all of my products into a Squarespace site, or like a page on my Squarespace site, manually, which that actually took a lot of time. So I designed all the products in Printify, and then Printify generates mock-ups, right, which is just like an image of what the design will look like once it's printed. So I had to make sure that I had all the design right, and then I had to save every view of every variation of every product. So I made 7 products. Some of them, it was just one version, like the notebook, for example. It's just one design that's available on the notebook. But stuff like when I made the t-shirts, I had done like, I think I did maybe like 5, 6, 7 colors, and then there's about 5, 6, 7 sizes as well. So the variants start to add up, and I had to get pictures. So you have like the front and the back angle on each one. So those pictures add up, and then I have to save all those pictures, upload all those pictures into Squarespace. I then also have to copy and paste the description for each item into Squarespace. I have to manually set the price, input the color, input the size, change up the order, and then I finally get the Squarespace thing active, and then I have to connect my method of payment to the store. So I finally get all of that set up. Now there's no way for me to automate the process, and that's what I was most excited about, was having it automated so that when the customer goes to the website, they input their order, the order gets fulfilled on Printify, and then Printify sends it off to the manufacturer to be printed, and then the manufacturer ships it direct from them right to the customer. That was my hope. Now how the system is actually going to work is that the customer goes to Squarespace, they place their order, I get a notification of that order, and then I have to log into Printify, fulfill the order that came through on Squarespace. So if they ordered a large blue t-shirt with design number 1 on it, then I have to go into Printify, go to t-shirt with design number 1 in blue, and then select large, add to order, and then I have to now actually fulfill that order, and then I send that off to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer ships to the customer, because I have to input the customer's address that I received on my Squarespace order, and then I put that into my Printify order, and then it gets shipped to that address. So it's a couple extra steps, which is not my favorite thing in the world, because I wanted to kind of save the step and automate the entire process, but that proved to not be possible, mostly given the fact that I wanted to do this notebook and I ended up going with Printify. I really like the user interface on Printify. I'll leave a link, but it seems like the process would have been easier on Printful because I was using Squarespace. So that is how things ended up. So now if I get an order, I'll have to place the order in another system in order for my customer to actually receive their order. So it's one extra step, and I wasn't able to just synchronize my Printify store with my website's storefront. I had to manually enter in every product, and every new product that I add or anything that I change, I will have to manually do on Squarespace. So all this to say, I had a decent experience during this whole thing. I'm actually waiting for some samples of the actual product as we speak. They were supposed to be coming in 2 days ago, but due to the current circumstances and everything, I actually am still waiting on that. But that is to be expected. So overall, it was a little bumpy, just because of the particular products that I wanted to sell. It wasn't quite as easy as I was expecting it to be. So my lesson to you, if you are watching or listening to this, is do your planning first. And ideally, before you start investing in any particular platform, try to start with how you want your process to look and work backwards. So if, for example, you were doing something that I wanted to do or something similar and you wanted to sell a notebook, right? Figure out your manufacturer, where you're going to get your notebook from. Then once you have decided on your manufacturer or your printer, then figure out which platform easily integrates with that company's system. Then once you figure out which platform easily integrates, figure out all the tools you need, which payment processor also goes with that particular platform system, and get everything set up prior to starting. So then that way you have your system clearly lined up, and then you can avoid the mistake that I made, was having systems that aren't necessarily directly compatible with each other. So just do your research and make sure that however you want to set up your system is all compatible. But all in all, I would rate this whole experience of dropshipping, I'd probably rate it a 7 out of 10, in that it, for the most part, it was pretty easy to figure out. It was just getting the system exactly the way that I wanted that didn't work out, because I was already starting with one piece of the puzzle kind of already stuck, which for me was Squarespace. And I didn't want to veer away from that, and I didn't want to open up a second website. So all in all, I think the dropshipping idea is still really, really cool, and I do think it's a very, very booming industry right now. But just do your research before you start. It is very easy to start, very simple. Just do your research, figure out what you want your end goal to be, or your end ideal process to look like, and then reverse engineer it and put all the pieces together accordingly. But that being said, I want to know, have you done drop shipping before? Is this something you're interested in? Is this something you want to avoid like the plague? Let me know. Leave a comment down below. Also make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all those good things. Again, if you want to send me a message, feel free to email me at jordan@starta.ca, or you can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Starta Canada. Be sure to check out starta.ca, where I post all these episodes in the blog format. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, anywhere where podcasts are done, as well as here on YouTube, or if you're watching on Instagram. And as well too, if you are someone who is going to be using any kind of content, whether it be video content, audio content, or Instagram content, whatever it may be, if you're someone who's going to be using content to push your product or your service or your business or your brand, and maybe you're struggling on figuring out how to do this whole reverse engineering process and figuring out the system to be able to pump out content regularly, I do have a free guide available at the link. I will leave it below, or you can head over to starta.ca and I'll make it very easily accessible for you to get this guide. It is 100% free. Just let me know where to email it to, and I will email it to you. There's no strings attached. There's no fee for it or anything like that. It's just my gift to you to be able to continue to provide you valuable content. So make sure to grab that free PDF guide, link down below, or on starta.ca. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to hear all your feedback, and I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.